Let's settle down quickly. Maharaj is going to give a class. It's going to be a very interesting class today. And there's going to be stories involved and lots of lessons learned and things like that involved. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Followed by that, we will have a small presentation on an update on the card for the Rath Yatra that we are making today. We'll have the presentation today. And then there is a presentation from Gopala class. It's a 10-minute presentation. This is presentation by small children in the Sunday school. So these are 4 to 6-year-olds. 4 to 6-year-olds, they are going to make a presentation. And also, after that presentation, we will then have prasadam downstairs. Our upcoming program is this Thursday. We have Thanksgiving coming up. So we're actually going to have a special Thanksgiving kirtan from 12:30 to 2. So 12:30 we have the Aarti, the noon Aarti is at 12:30. And so from 12:30 after the Aarti, the kirtan will continue until 2 o'clock. And then that will be followed by special prasadam. So if I may request for those who intend to be here for that, if you can just share with me that you would be coming, that way we can get a proper head count and we'll be able to serve you better. So thank you all very much. Let's all settle down, those in the back. And let's all give our rapt attention to Maharaj. And let's all welcome Maharaj so that we can be here and welcoming him very nicely by loudly chanting Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, it's nice to see everyone, and I'm sure we'll get a lot more people by the end of class, because it gets closer to prasadam time. Everyone comes. So, and work is no excuse because it's Sunday. Anyway, so, but of course we have a lot of people watching online, so at least we'll have a big audience online. So first we're going to chant Jai Radha-Madhava, and today's class is called The Supreme Goal of Life. So many of you think the supreme goal of life is to be rich, right? The supreme goal of life is to have a handsome husband or a beautiful wife, right? No? The supreme goal of life is to have a big house in Morrisville or Cary. Or the supreme goal of life is to be famous. But these things are all temporary. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. Again and again, things are created. And again, things are destroyed. In fact, the whole universe, as Prabhupada once said, actually, his spiritual master said, the whole show is only temporary. Or as one English author, Shakespeare, said, life struts and frets his time upon the stage, and then is heard no more. So right now, we're all on a stage and we're playing different roles, right? Some of you are playing the role of a young man, Advaita Chandra, as a young, intelligent, married person. Oh my God. And you'll have a job. And later on, you'll play the role of a grandfather, maybe a great-grandfather after that. And then, I won't go ahead. And then next life, you have another role to play. So that's not the goal of life, to actually enhance our particular role that we have right now. Our goal of life is to enhance our spiritual life, and when you enhance your spiritual life, as Krishna describes, swapamapyasha, dharmasha, trayate mahato vayat. In this endeavor, there's no diminution. Spiritual life means no diminution. Like if you approach Krishna, then you stay in that position life after life after life, or what to speak of going back to home, back to Godhead. So everything else is will-o'-the-wisp. It's like soap bubbles that you blew when you were young. So we shouldn't be like young children who are just hankering to catch a soap bubble. Got it. Okay. So anyway, of course you have to work with the soap bubbles while you're here in this world. At the same time, the ultimate goal has to be pursued. We'll chant Jai Radhamadava and then talk about it. This is not going to be a heavy sannyas class, don't worry. I got that out of the way in the beginning. Jaya Radhamadava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radhamadava Kunja Bihare Gopi Janabalaba Girivara Dhagute Gopi Janabalaba Girivara Dhagute Yasodanan Dhanavraja Jana Ranjana Yasodanan Dhanavraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Banachare Yamuna Tira Manachare Jayaranu Madhava Kunyabikakure Jayaradhu Madhava Kunyabikakure Gopi Jana Madhava Giri Bharadare Gopi Jana Madhava Giri Bharadare Yasodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Banachate Yamuna Tera Banachare Jai Radhamadhava Kunnavihate Jai Radhamadhava Kunnavihate Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hachibo, Hare Bo. Jaya Jaya, Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya also tell us that Shimad, His Divine Grace Savaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anandakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Machuradam Ki Jai, Jagadava Swami Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samvada Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namah Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatarni. So Om Gana Timaganda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So this evening we're going to talk about the supreme goal of life, and the concept of what the supreme goal of life is brought out very, very nicely in this conversation between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, in the mood of Radharani, and his great devotee, Ramananda Roy. So Ramananda Roy is an incarnation of Vishaka Devi and also Arjuna. Somehow or other, by the spiritual potency of the Supreme Lord, these things can take place. This is achincha. Achincha means inconceivable, or something you can't think about, or maybe you shouldn't think about. So the Lord's potencies are inconceivable. I mean, even if you look at different aspects of this material energy and how they're functioning. If you talk about things on the nanoscale, quantum theory, quantum mechanics, like that, spooky action at a distance, who knows how it's happening? So many things are inconceivable, even even materially. So, in any case, Ramananda Roy, who you see here meeting with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was ostensibly a Shudra. Now, we all know that generally Shudra means what? Fourth class. Just like you hear this description. Who was first class in the Varnashram system? Brahmin. Who was second class? Third class? Fourth class? Fifth class? So, I mean, it's very interesting. Sometimes we use this first class, second class, third class, fourth class. I prefer to say, different propensities. Because in English, when you say first class, second class, third class, fourth class, by the time you get to fourth class, it means bad. Right? That's the English expression. Now, I don't know in Hindi whether it would be the same thing, but in English, it's, oh my God. If you say that you're fourth class, or fifth class, or 10th class, it's really bad. It just means that people have different propensities, and as Krishna says in the Gita, that anyone, by doing their prescribed duty, can approach the transcendental destination. It's just that we all have different propensities. Someone is an intellectual, someone is a manager or a soldier, someone loves to do business and invest in bitcoins. So, sorry about that one. And someone likes to work with their hands, artistic work or construction work, and they're all equal. So even though we may be aware of this first class, second class, third class, fourth class designation, it's better to use different nomenclature for these things. Just say different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, the universal body of the Lord, like the heads of Brahmins, and then the chest and the arms of the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishya, the stomach. So many people have their minds in the stomach. And then, of course, the Shudras are the legs. But everything's required. Everything is required. So, but at the same time, you have people who believe in the caste system, right? So the caste system means that someone is of a certain caste or varna according to birth. But that is not the version of the Vedic literatures. So here we have Ramananda Roy, who is ostensibly a Shudra, not because he had the qualities of a Shudra. He was ostensibly considered to be a Shudra because of his family that he was born in. He was also posted in a very high government position. He was the governor of Madras, which today is called Chennai. So he was surrounded by many, many different associates. As you see here in the picture, he is embracing Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya is embracing him. So the background of this is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going on a tour to South India, and he wanted to visit all the holy places, but even more important, he wanted to give his association to all the people in the different places and spread the Krishna conscious movement. It's described as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded to South India. Anyone who came in contact with him became a great devotee. And anyone who came in contact with the person who came in contact with him became a great devotee. And anyone who came in contact with the person who came in contact with him became a great devotee. Let's see how far I can go. Anyone who came in contact with the person who came in contact, the person who came in contact, and the person who came in contact, they became great devotees. So because of that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's influence is spread everywhere in India. So on the way to South India, of course, you pass through certain provinces, and Andhra Pradesh is one of the states you pass through. And in Andhra Pradesh, there's a river called the Godavari River, which is one of the sacred rivers in India. So Lord Chaitanya arrived at this Godavari River, and he wanted to see Ramananda Roy. Why did he want to see Ramananda Roy? Because this other great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Sarva Bhoma Bhattacharya, who was, Bhattacharya means Brahman, he requested Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see Ramananda Roy, and he said, don't think that just because he's a Shudra or engaged in government service, he's not a great devotee of the Lord. So Lord Chaitanya arrived in the banks of the Godavari. Same time, Ramananda Roy arrived there, but on a palanquin. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled on foot because sannyasi is supposed to travel on foot. And so he was surrounded, Ramananda Roy was surrounded by so many associates and brahmanas who were chanting mantras. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Ramananda Roy, he immediately understood it was Ramananda Roy, and he went up to embrace him. And Ramananda Roy, well, he waited actually until Ramananda Roy came, and they introduced each other, each self to each other, and they embraced. And not only did they embrace, they fell on the ground and remained unconscious for some time. And all these ritualistic brahmanas were thinking, why is this sannyasi embracing the fourth class? There's that fourth class again. This fourth class man. And Ramananda Roy, even though he's a fourth class man, he's highly intelligent. So in other words, that's sort of like a contradiction. Fourth class man, highly intelligent. Mm-mm. They didn't understand the disparity is there in considering the caste system instead of our ashram system. And so that what's happening here? So both of them realized this is not a good place to be talking about too much elevated subject matters, because these people will not understand, these people will criticize. So let's meet privately this night and talk about the different topics related with Krishna consciousness. So that night they met, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to hear about the ultimate goal of life and the process for achieving that ultimate goal of life. Now, why did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu want to hear? He's God. He already knows everything, past, present, future, all the different processes. He wanted to hear from the mouth of his devotees so he could relish certain rasas or taste. And he also wanted to see his devotees' realization. So he assumed the position of a student. And Ramananda Roy assumed the position of the professor. And so when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking these questions, the technical name for his inquiring is rhetorical. Anyone's heard that name before? Rhetorical means when a teacher goes up to the front of the classroom and he says, now class, how much is 1 and 1? Or what is the square root of whatever? Because he's teaching or testing the students, and that's the teaching technique. Oh, phone's off. So, anyway, so Lord Chaitanya said, please tell me what the goal of life is and give me some quotes from Shastra to justify what you're saying. So, the first thing that Ramananda Roy said is that, here's the quote you say, Raya Kahe, this is Bengali, of course, Sudharamat Sharane, Vishnu Bhakti Hai. In other words, if one follows the dharma of his social position, then he can awaken his original spiritual nature. Now, there's some problems with this because we all have a dharma of our specific social position. We're talking right now about Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And there's also ashrams, which are brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So for those of you who don't know what that terminology is, so of course you all know Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. We already discussed that. But brahmachari means a single student who lives in the ashram of the spiritual master and doesn't eat unless the spiritual master calls him to eat. It's hard to apply that one. And grahastha means someone who gets married and he engages his family in spiritual life. Vanaprastha means retired, not playing golf, but retired with his family and visiting the holy places or executing some service in a specific holy place. And sannyas means someone who's completely renounced and travels or remains in one place as a paramahamsa. That's the varnashram system. So simply doing those things doesn't ensure you perfection. I mean, don't we know many brahmacharis who are not progressing in spiritual life, particularly if they're following the wrong path? Don't we know many grahastas who are not progressing? Don't we know many vanaprasthas? Not many. Hardly know any vanaprasthas. But no, we know a lot of retired people who are playing golf. That's a type of vanaprastha. Vanaprastha, of course, means going to the forest. And there are sannyasis who are Mayavadi sannyasis, or who declare themselves to be God, or just using their particular position to enjoy material life. So, therefore, being a member of this varnashram system doesn't guarantee anything. And Ramananda Roy quoted this very interesting verse you see up here. Varnashram acharavata purushena parapuman Vishnu rajate panta nanyatat karanam. So this is a verse that states that, it's from the Vishnu Purana, in fact, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is worshipped by the execution of varnashram duties. And there's no other way to satisfy Lord Vishnu than to execute your varnashram duties. Now, why would it say that when it's not exactly correct? Well, the reason that statement is there is that people are at different levels. And so most of the Vedas deal with people who are in the three modes of nature, as Krishna says in the Gita. Trigunya, Vishaya, Veda, Nistrigunya, Bhavarjana, near Dwanvo, near Nityasattvasto, near Yogakshema, Atmavan. Vedas mainly deal. So there's different injunctions for different people in different levels. For example, if you're really attached to eating meat and you really are going to do it anyway, the Vedas say once a month, you on the full moon. So wait till the full moon. And you worship the goddess Kali, and you kill the goat, not cow, and you whisper in the goat's ear, Mamsa Kadati. I am killing you, you will kill me. Mamsa means killing me. Anyway, so there's different methodologies for different people, or we say different shlokas for different folks. You understand? And Krishna, of course, in the Gita also mentions, Chaturvanamaya Guna Karma Vibhagasha, that I created this varnashram, so there's nothing wrong with it. But it's not the method to reach the goal. It may be utilized in society to stabilize society so that people can engage in the actual method, which we'll get to in a second. So Lord Chaitanya, of course, said, this is, again, Bengali, Ehovaya, Agekara Ara. This is external. It has nothing to do with spiritual life. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained that, especially in Kali Yuga, this varnashram system has been exploited by those in the so-called higher castes so they can have an undue advantage over others. In fact, one of the reasons that Buddhism came about and Jainism came about was due to the fact that Brahmanas were exploiting people and also engaged in activities which they should not have engaged in, like killing animals in the name of sacrifice. So therefore, Lord Buddha, he preached ahimsa parama dharma. Ahimsa is topmost dharma. And also we see the Jains too. The Jains, they would wear the mask, or maybe they still do, to avoid breathing in microbes. Of course, at the same time, if they're starting their car, cars don't have a mask. And so many billions of microbes are being killed like this each time you start your car or keep your car running. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this is simply external. Tell me something else. So Ramananda Roy said, okay, let's pull out a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, something higher, which means offering the results of your activities to Krishna, which is actually called karma mishra bhakti. And of course, the verse from the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most famous verses in the Bhagavad Gita from the 9th chapter, text 27, Yat karoshi na yat yat shnashi yat jahoshi dadasi yat yat apasashi kontiya tat kurishwa vadarpita. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, should be done as an offering to me, etc. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he didn't like this explanation either. He said this is also external because there's no clear understanding of the goal. I mean, it should be done. He's not saying this is a bad idea. Certainly, Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Tolam Toyam Yome Bhakti Prayachati. Everything we offer to him, and if one eats food without offering to Krishna first, one is verily eating what? Sin. Pop. Even though if your food is vegetarian, it's not as bad as eating meat, obviously. But still, jivasa, jiva, sajivanam. That one living entity exists by eating another living entity. Let's say you take an apple. Okay. You say, I'm not killing the tree. But what's inside the apple? So many seeds. Let's see. Of course, if you eat asparagus, you're killing the poor asparagi. If that's singular for asparagus, I'm not sure. So, anyway, so there's no clear idea of the process of giving up the results. One could say, the results, okay, let's say I'm offering the best thing I have, like the devotees in the beginning days of the movement. They were told to offer the best thing they had to the deities. So sometimes they would bring their blue jeans and offer them to the deities. So there's no clear idea. General guidance, but no clear idea. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said again, this is external. Please tell me more. Go higher. Next thing, Ramananda Roy said, well, what about taking sannyas? Is that the goal? Swadharma Tyaga. That means giving up your Swadharma. Taking sannyas. And there's this conception, Saja means the goal, Sart is the goal. So, giving up everything, first of all, you can't give up everything. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, even there is action and inaction. What does that mean? That means even if you just sit still, You're breathing. So you're doing something in this world. Is always action. And even if you're inactive, you're getting the action of the karma too. So in any case, that still obviously is no clear idea about the ultimate goal of life. Just take sannyas. One may be thinking, because they're in such a difficult situation in this world, that if I take sannyas, then I won't have to worry about paying the bills. I won't have to worry about anything in this world. It's not like that. There's always something. Adhyatmik adhibodhikana, because you don't take sannyas from your mind. You take sannyas externally. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, this is sannyas. So, of course, the verse about this is occupational duties are described in religious scriptures. If one analyzes them, he can fully understand their qualities and faults, then give them up completely to render service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's not really the point. And, of course, the verse that Ramananda Roy referred to was 1866 in the Gita. So, famous verse, which I think everybody knows, Sarvadharma Brichasya Mamikam Sharanam Brachaham Tvam Sarvabhuptebhyo Mokshayashyami Masucha. Just surrender, give up all varieties of dharma. You know, one could take this out of context, and I'll protect you. And so, if one takes this verse out of context, one can even understand things in an impersonal way. Okay, Krishna will protect me, but what's the ultimate goal? You still haven't understood what the ultimate goal. And again, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this is external. So then Ramananda Roy proceeds to the next step. He says, Jnana Mishra Bhakti Saja Sara. Jnana, of course, means knowledge, but in this particular context, it means cultivating, like Sankhya, knowledge about this material world, knowledge about the spiritual world, so you can get liberated. So the goal is simply to be free from the entanglement of this material world and to get liberated. So that's not the goal, because that's not a permanent situation, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Aruya Kuchena Param Padam. Ultimately, even if you become so-called free of this material world, if you don't take up devotional service, you come down again. Because the soul by nature is active. The soul by nature is not inactive. So, in other words, even if you go to the Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, then ultimately you come down. And you come down to this world again. And of course, Ramananda Roy quoted another famous verse from the Bhagavad Gita, from the 18th chapter, which is 54. Brahmabhuta prasanama sochati nakangshati samaksarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate puram. And so, wouldn't that be nice, not to be hankering or lamenting about anything? That would be nice. But without devotional service, it's useless. If you become a devotee, then Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita again, Bhukti Mukti, Siddhi Kam, Sakalaya Shanta. Whether one is desiring bhukti, enjoyment grossly in this world, or mukti, liberation, Sakalaya Shanta, one becomes disturbed ultimately because of the nature of the soul, or because of Avritam Gyanametena Gyanino Nichavayana Kamarupena Kontya Dushparena Lenacha, never being satisfied with what you have in this world. So it's interesting that right after this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, after 1854, it comes 1855, right? I think I got my numbers properly. And 1855, does anyone know that verse? Yeah. Bhaktimam abhijanati yavanyas chasmi tadvataha tatomam tatvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram that you can only to get bhakti, not by coming to the Brahman platform. It's interesting how these verses follow each other. Only bhaktimam abhijana yavanyas chasmi tadvataha. Only by bhakti can you actually come to Krishna consciousness. So, anyway, so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sort of rejected this Jnana Mishra bhakti concept. And then Ramananda Roy presented, he didn't dance like that, but that's one of our fanatic brahmacharis. Say, Jnana Shunya Bhakti. That means bhakti without this desire for liberation, just pure bhakti. You know, he's starting on pure bhakti at this point, which is mentioned by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anyabi Lashata Shunyam. Same concept in Sanskrit. Anyabi Lashata Shunyam, Jnana Karman Avritam. I'm not going to recite the second part. Later on we'll get to. So that's bhakti without the desire for liberation. Just loving Krishna in a generic way. So that's generic. I love God. I love Krishna. And of course, there's this beautiful verse by Lord Brahma, which I'm going to read. Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social position, in other words, you don't have to give up anything, throw away the process of speculative knowledge. What's that? You know this verse? Yeah, Jnana Prayasam. So, and with their body, mind, words, and mind, offer all respects to your descriptions of personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you were otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. So this is approaching bhakti by dealing with something called Shanta, Shanta Ras. We're going to gradually move up the different rasas or ratis in relationship. And Lord Chaitanya finally says, this is all right. So go higher. He still says, it's all right, but I want to hear something higher. And then Ramananda Roy says, Prema Bhakti. Sarva Saja Sara. There's the goal. Prema Bhakti means, again, the second half of that verse, Yabhilashunyam Jnana Karma Navratam Anukuyena Krishnam Bhakti Rutamam, that one serves Krishna according to what he wants with love and is active in doing it. So that's a nutshell verse for the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So that means, here's a verse to explain this. As long as there are hunger and thirst within the stomach, varieties of food and drink make one feel happy. Similarly, when the Lord is worshipped with pure love, the various activities performed in the course of that worship awaken transcendental bliss in the heart of a devotee. In other words, as one's performing bhakti, one is doing it out of love, not out of niyam agraha, ritual. Because many times we do things ritualistically, such as, we know the offering mantras to offer our bhoga to Krishna. We say it ritualistically. But Krishna says, Bhaktyamam abhijanati. He doesn't say, ritualistically abhijanati. Anyway, he says, worship me with love. Or offer me a leaf, a fruit, a little water with devotion. So that's the real point. So Ramananda Roy is definitely getting to the point. And another interesting verse from Rupa Goswami's Pajavali here. When the Lord is worshipped with pure love, the various activities performed in the course of that worship awaken the transcendental bliss in the heart of a devotee. It can be attained only by paying one price. Volume. That is intense, loya means intense greed to obtain it. That's the price. Without that intense greed, you're not going to attain the perfection of Krishna consciousness. You'll get free from karma, sure. You'll have a happy life, sure. But you won't attain your Satchidananda nature without wanting that. I mean, just like a businessman. Let's say you go in. I'll use an example of a mundane businessman. Let's say that, oh my God, always use him. Anyway, so let's take Elon Musk, for example. Why did he become successful? Because he had intense greed to become successful. You know, he was sleeping at his factory. You know, if you read his history, it's quite interesting. And not that I'm suggesting we become like him, but intense greed. He wanted it. And he was ready to make the sacrifices. So that's from Rupa Goswami's Pajavali. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, that's all right. He's asking for more. And then Ramananda Roy, he says, Daksha Prema, Sarva Sadhya Ksara. That means becoming a servant. And so we're moving up from Shanta to Dasha, etc., like that. And of course we see Krishna's servants. And there's a verse from the Bhagavatam, very beautiful verse. What remains to be attained by those who have become his servants? And again, Lord Chaitanya says, that's all right. Tell me more. And then he goes to Sakya Prema. Actually, all the relationships we have in this world are reflections of the relationships in the spiritual world, as Krishna explains in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, giving the example of the upside-down banyan tree. And so Krishna has his friends in the spiritual world. And those friends, of course, are the coward boys, or even friends in Dwarka and other places like that. So, and then another beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam that talks about this, 10, 12, 11. Certain exalted personalities, after accumulating volumes of pious activities, are now playing with the Lord, Krita Punya Punya. You know that verse. Yeah, it's a famous verse. And playing with the Lord in friendship as coward boys. Wouldn't that be nice to be playing with Krishna as a coward boy? Wow. Who's your friend? God. So Lord Chaitanya again says, that is very good, but go higher. And then he goes what's called Vatsalya Prem. Vatsalya, of course, means the parental relationship, like Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, and the other personalities who have that parental, older people in Vrindavan who have that older relationship, or even Vasudeva and Devaki in different places, or Aditi, who's the mother of Lord Vamanadev. You know, so you have these different personalities who actually, the mothers of God, expand from Yashoda Mai. Yashoda Mai is the original mother. Nobody can become Yashoda Mai. That's impersonalism. So the Bhagavatam 10:9-20, this beautiful verse, the favor Mother Yashoda obtained from Shri Krishna, the bestower of liberation, was never obtained even by Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who always remains on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is very relishable. Prabhupada said, generally, in the Western religions, people consider themselves a son of God. And in the Vedic culture, or perfection of Krishna consciousness, one can become the parent of God. Why is that superior? Because the son is always asking for what? For things. Can I have my allowance? Can I borrow the car? Can we go on vacation? We go to India? So anyways, the son is always asking for something, isn't it? But when you're the parent, then the son is always asking you. That puts you in the position of servitude. The favor Mother Yashoda obtained from Krishna, the bestower of liberation, was never obtained even by Lord Brahma Shiva, nor even by the goddess of fortune, who always remains on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. And Lord Chaitanya said, that's very good, but go higher. So, and of course, then we get to conjugal relationship, Kanti Prema, Sarva Sajak Sara. And that's, of course, the gopis, and in the Bhagavatam it states, just one verse about the gopis. Suddenly, due to their feelings of separation, Lord Krishna appeared amongst the gopis dressed in yellow garments and wearing a flower garland. His lotus face was smiling, and he was directly attracting the mind of Cupid. And so, of course, whatever relationship a devotee has, that's perfection for them. So here's Mother Yashoda again. That's their perfection. It's not that one, in a material sense, is better than the other. It's that different relationships, and they were all serving that conjugal relationship between Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world in Goloka Vrindavan. So, of course, as you proceed to conjugal relationship, or for lack of a better word, the higher relationships, all the qualities that are there in the original relationship, beginning with Shanta and Dasha, are there in the higher relationships. So in other words, in the conjugal relationship, you also have, of course, service. Radharani is always serving Krishna. Even when she exhibits her man or anger, that's to please Krishna. So everything is based on service and intimacy. It just becomes more intimate. And Chaitanya Charitamrita explains this very nicely. As the qualities increase, so the taste also increases in each and every mellow. Therefore, the qualities found in Shantaras, Dasaras, Sakiras, and Vatsalyaras are all manifested in conjugal love, Madhurya Ras. And Prabhupada would sometimes equate that with the different material elements. As you go from subtler material elements to grosser, you know, you have your earth, water, fire, air, ether, that's going up. But as you go from subtler to grosser, all the qualities that are there in the subtle material elements are there in earth, which is the gross in not in a pejorative sense, but it's the most solid of all the material substances. So you get sound in earth, you get smell in earth, etc. All these different qualities are there. So the same thing with all these different rasas. And so, let's go ahead. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this is certainly the limit of perfection. Saja vadi sunischaya. Kripa kare kaha yari age kichu haya. But go higher. Yeah, how can you go higher than that? It's hard to understand. And so therefore there was a description of Srimati Radharani's love for Shri Krishna, which is the topmost. And Lord Chaitanya said, now I have achieved the goal of knowledge and the process for getting to the ultimate perfection. So, and then there was further discussion about the qualities of Radha and Krishna and their relationship. And Radha ultimately, even higher, was Srimati Radharani's mood of Vipralamba Seva, which is the highest transcendental ecstasy in which Srimati Radharani experiences separation from Krishna. As we see in the pastimes, when Krishna left Vrindavan, he left the gopis, and particularly Srimati Radharani, to lament for many, many years. And of course, that lamentation was connection rather than an actual separation. This is the great mystery behind the mood of separation of Radha and Krishna. So, anyway, there's some pictures here. And a description in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, during separation, that attraction has increased to another ecstatic level. And Lord Chaitanya said, this is the limit of human life. And he asked, so how do you reach that limit? And Lord Chaitanya asked, how do you reach that limit? And Ramananda Roy explained, by following in the footsteps of the gopis. So what is their footsteps? Not that you necessarily will all become gopis, but the footsteps are explained. That particular expression is explained in the pastime of when Krishna had a headache. Everybody knows that pastime. Krishna had a headache. He told Narada Muni, the only way I get rid of this headache is if I take the dust of the feet of my devotees. And so Narada Muni went around to all the devotees and they said, no way. But the gopis said, take the dust. And Narada Muni said, aren't you afraid of going to hell? And the gopis said, let us go to hell. But we want Krishna's headache to be cured. And so, of course, this is elaborated on by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in another way in the final verse of the Shikshashika. You may crush me by your embrace. You may leave me brokenhearted, actually by being a debauchee. But you are completely free to do anything and everything, and you always remain my worshipful Lord unconditionally. So, actually, there's a lot more, but we don't have a lot more time here. So, ultimately, in this discussion between Ramananda Roy and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which lasted 10 days, Lord Chaitanya exhibited his form as combined Radha and Krishna and revealed to Ramananda Roy his actual identity. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Ramananda Roy, renounce your job and come and join me in Jagannath Puri, and we could spend the rest of our days relishing these topics of Radha and Krishna. So that's what he did. So, anybody have any questions? Some more pictures of the gopis and the coward boys. So, questions? Yes. Dairadika, okay.
I was wondering if you could elaborate on like the significance of like the gopis giving the dust of their lotus feet to Krishna. Like how
The elaboration is that they were willing to do anything, suffer any consequence to relieve Krishna's headache, to satisfy Krishna. That's pretty easy to understand, isn't it? Even if it meant going to hell or suffering. Of course, Krishna won't do that to you. Krishna does say, Ham Twam Sarva Papevyo Mokshayashyami Masuchaha. But the mood of absolute devotion. And we can best understand this by taking a material example that's very, very close to this particular mood, which is mother's love for the child, which is higher than the father's love. Sorry, man. Prabhupada did say that. Because the mother is just willing to do anything, basically. I remember my own childhood. I'm not saying my mother's equivalent to Srimati Radharani or anything, but my mother basically did so much for what she considered to be my welfare. She sacrificed so many years and never really expected anything in return. Then I joined the Hare Krishna movement. But she didn't reject me because of that. She actually appreciated it ultimately, and she left this world hearing the holy name of Krishna. So Krishna saved her. So, I mean, anyway, I could see in my own life, because I had a good mother, that you get a little hint about what that means, what love means. hopefully that explains. So any other questions? You had a question? Quick. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. 9 processes of devotional service in the association of great devotees. And service. Mahat Sevam, Ahor Vimuktes. And avoiding bad association. Oh my God. So by associating, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi. Lavamatra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Just by a little, but association means favorable association. For example, let's say if there was a pure devotee here, let's say you're a pure devotee. Okay, let's say Nanda Gopal is a pure devotee. Let's say hypothetically. So a fly lands on him. Does that fly become a pure devotee by landing on Nanda Gopal if he is a pure devotee? Does anyone know the answer? No, because that's not favorable association. Kamsa was continually thinking of Krishna, but that's not favorable association or favorable meditation. So favorable means, again, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Yabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmanavritam. That's simply wanting to please Krishna, doing what Krishna wants. It's pretty easy. Actually, you say, how does one do that? Well, by following the instructions of Krishna's devotees and remaining where you are. You don't have to change your living situation or varnashram situation, also is described in the Bhagavatam, stani stita shrutikatam tanvan manobir. You know the verse? Yeah. Just stay where you are. But shrutikatam tanvan manobir. Again, let's see, what is that other verse that I was thinking of? That, Nityasiddha Krishna Prem Sajikoro Nai. You have Krishna Prem there in your heart. And the way you do it is Shravanadi, to hear from great personalities. And hearing means acting on the hearing. Shro Shradanasha Vasudeva Kataruchi Shan Mahat Sevya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nashevana. So by serving, hearing, and serving. So, I think we ran out of time here. So, thank you very much. And I think our Rath Yatra people have a little presentation.
Yes, Maharaj.
Is that the next step?
Yes, Maharaj, that is the next step. Thank
All
you very
glories
much,
to Srila
Maharaj, for
Prabhupada.
giving such a wonderful katha about the Samvada, the conversation between Ramananda Rai and Lord Chaitanya. So let us all thank Maharaj by loudly chanting, Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! So let us be Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki. Jai. So our program this evening is we will actually have a presentation on an update on the Rath Yatra. So we have a team who's actually making the Rath Yatra. So we'll have Nanda Gopal Prabhu and Haripal Prabhu making the presentation. And following that, we will have a presentation on Gopal from the Gopal classes from the Sunday